Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's something serious. Where my girls at? We link up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going out tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going out tonight. Yeah, right. It's going out tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going out tonight. Yeah, right.
Oh, I always have to wait for that favorite little bass to kick in. It's going down. It's going down. We already got our girlfriend, Sabrina, in the chat. Oh my gosh, she is not with us on the show today, you guys. You are listening into We Got Issues. This is your girl, your host today, Caterina Harris Earl from warm California. It is warm and not too warm. It is sweet. I think it's warm everywhere. Is anybody not having good weather today? And I'm telling you, we definitely are here today. You've got Caterina, that's me. You've got Crisette in Detroit. We've got Gloria from Detroit, living in Ellicott City, Maryland. And we've got our girlfriend, Sabrina, who is missing us. But I'm telling you, y'all, were you on the show last week with Regina Goodwin, her sister, talking about the 100-year commemoration, not a celebration, right. 100-year commemoration of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And so we got a little feedback in the background. I hope our radio operator's helping us with that. Thanks, Kevin. But I'm telling you, it's all over the news. We saw Regina on CNN today, if you haven't been tuning into that. And she's, right. I mean, speaking truth to power, right? We all saw it, right? So we all saw
she was
Chris.
on CNN today. She was on CNN today.
Oh,
like today. God. So she was on We Got Issues, and then she was on CNN. They discovered her on We Got Issues. You know that, right?
So Gloria, what is happening over there in Maryland? What is going on in Maryland?
Well, it's been warm today. It was beautiful. It was an absolutely beautiful day. You know, we got a situation going on here in Maryland. Not everyone in the world has it, but we got something called the cicadas, and they come up every 17 years. So, I mean, I am doing the master of emotional management because these big bugs are flying everywhere from tree to tree. They're leaving their skeletons everywhere. It's amazing. It only happens every 17 years. However, I'm grateful and I'm thankful that the weather is beautiful. When you walk outside, they make this loud noise. I'm going to put something on my social media because it is a phenomenon, and it only happens here. Around the world, in Maryland is the only place that happens. A little bit in Virginia, but mostly Maryland. It's an interesting situation. But I'm excited because we got girlfriends that are going to call in today on We Got Issues. But we're going to lean into this particular topic. I'm so excited about this topic, Caterina. And the guest, I'm just so excited. So before we get to meet her, we're going to slide up there to the yellow city. It must be yellow all over Detroit because Crisette is shining in yellow. Girl, 9
Yes. Hey, you guys. I'm so excited to be here with you on today. Yep, I'm rocking my favorite color. Yellow is my favorite color. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be such a good topic on today. Life is calling. Are you ready to answer? And all of us have situations in our life that if we aren't careful, we can miss our calling. And so I can't wait to lean in. We absolutely are missing our girlfriend, Sabrina, on today. She's flying out later to Tulsa to the 100-year commemoration of the race riots. And when I tell you her sister, Regina, State Representative Regina Goodwin, she made us so proud on today. I promise you, I'm watching the TV saying, I know her. Matter of fact, I have her number in my cell phone. She was on We Got issues. Okay.
Right.
So she did an incredible job. You guys, so much is going on in our world. I was up early this morning and just turned on the news, and literally it was quiet. It was probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. The house hadn't got stirring yet. And I was watching CNN, and they were interviewing the grandfather of little Anaya, the 6-year-old that was shot in the car with her mother, eating a Happy Meal. And, you know, a stray bullet from somebody else that was shooting shot her. And when I tell you, literally, I sat there just crying. I felt like Sabrina in that moment. Everybody knows Sabrina is the crier. I mean, just tears. And so, you know, I'm just sending thoughts out to her family. You know, their heart is broken. And I mean, that is absolutely an issue that we cannot let die out. No pun intended. We got to keep sounding the alarm about gun control. We have to do something about it. But on today, that is not our topic. I'm excited to meet our guests. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Caterina.
Yeah, I apologize, radio listeners, for the feedback. I'm not sure where that's coming from. So we're all going to be real still because we don't want any feedback. But I'm telling you, first of all, you know, Gloria, I've been watching the cicadas on TikTok, and I was like, OMG, the dogs eat them. I could not believe that. That was crazy. And Crisette, that's the exact same thing that happened for me this morning, is waking up. And of course, being here an hour from San Jose and seeing the actual faces of the family members. It's so real. And I just feel the need to announce this. My sorority, and our guest is a sorority sister, is teaming up, as I'm sure all of the Greek letter organizations are, and so many other organizations, with We All Vote. And teaming up on Juneteenth this year to make sure that we have just massive voter registration. So I'm going to post in the link on our Force of Friendship page. There's a conference call immediately after this, after our show today, just about that mobilization in conjunction with Juneteenth and how you can volunteer your time, because seriously, that gun issue will not change without us showing up at the polls, for sure. So this is about living on purpose, and it all ties in, because you can't live your life on purpose if you don't have the opportunity to live a full life. And so living on purpose is so important. If you want to live a long life, find something you want to live for. A sense of purpose has been shown to correlate significantly with health. Every bit of increase in purpose leads to a longer life. Researchers found that purpose correlated significantly, y'all, with mortality in a cohort of 8,419 adults. Those with the highest sense of purpose lived the longest, while those with less of a sense of purpose live significantly shorter lives. The authors of this study define purpose as a self-organizing life aim that stimulates goal, promotes healthy behaviors, and gives meaning to life. I am so excited to bring to the stage my sorority sister, and an amazing academic in her own right, a powerful woman of God, Dr. Jena L. Bell, CEO and founder of Purpose on the Rise, the author of an amazing book we're going to talk about, Mirror Affirmations, and Gloria's homegirl there in Dr. Jena Bell. What city do you actually live in?
So I'm actually in Rockville, Maryland, not too far.
Oh, you're in Rockville. Okay. Oh, you get the cicadas too. They're buzzing all around your house as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yeah, she's in the cicada town, right?
So I just want to do this proper introduction of a little bit as we ask you about your story before our first break. Your bio says, when purpose calls, will you answer? It was a call to purpose, you guys, that led Dr. Bell to places never seen, to do things never imagined, but soon to discover that she could live a life on purpose. After a horrific marriage, a divorce, and an unexpected job loss, she wandered into self-doubt, as so many of us have. We all. Raise your hand, type in the chat if you can relate. Ultimate betrayal of a husband of 20 years after a 24-year relationship, and an employer of 27 years. She made the pivot, you guys, and changed the trajectory of her life and experienced a new birth. And so we're excited to talk to you, Dr. Jena Bell, about as a visionary and a strategist. I just want to say this. Prior to that job, you were prior to becoming an entrepreneur, you were a former healthcare executive where you led the largest national private healthcare program, $29 billion, which served over 5 million federal employees. So we are talking to you today, and now you stand here as an entrepreneur. And so would you just tell us a little bit about your background, and how you came to this point in your life?
Oh, absolutely, ladies. And thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to be here. And, you know, it's one of those things, and I think most women can relate, because as women, you know, our trajectory is to graduate from high school, go to college, then get that big job, get married, have kids, all those things. So you're just constantly checking the boxes of what society has expected of us. And so that's what I did. So I expected things to go kind of perfect, right? But then you realize you get there and you wake up one morning and you realize something's gone astray, right? Something's gone wrong. And you don't even realize it. So what you realize, and what I realized at the time, is that while I was living my life, I was in the life, I basically wasn't present in the life. And so much of me had just gotten lost. And so then the marriage ends, the job ends a week later, and then I'm taking my daughter off to college. So now I'm an empty nester, all at mid-50, right? So it's like a whole new world that just changed. And so it was at that point that I realized that something had to change. And it was when, in the depth of that night, the crying, the tears, the loneliness, that God spoke to me, and I realized that there was something more for me. And I was no longer questioning who I was, right? Mm-hmm. Because even after all the accolades, you're there and you're like, wait a minute, who am I really? So mm-hmm. It was at that lowest point in my life that I then discovered that I had to depend on me and I had to do things differently. And God showed me what that purpose was going to be.
Mm-hmm. That is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. That we're not quite sure where the feedback is coming from on the radio, but we're working on it, you guys. But we can hear you loud and clear. And I know so many people in our listening audience on radio and on social media can relate. We have a few minutes before the break. And so before we really get in and have you talk about that journey and how you got there, I want to bring the girlfriends in. And Gloria, I just want to, all of us are women that have found ourselves living our life on purpose. And I know that's why I would say I really am so blessed to have some girlfriends who are so powerful and on purpose. So Gloria, can you talk about the journey for you? How did you get to the point did you know what your purpose was? Was it easy for you? Just a little bit about the beginning of that journey that got you on the path to where you are now.
Well, I am so excited to have you as a guest on this show. I'm so excited to hear your journey. One of the things I love is hearing other people's journey. I think that's why we all do well, is because we're honestly curious about other people's lives. We're honestly curious about their family. We're honestly curious about their journey when we lean in. And because, you know, when you get to the place where you've lived to a place where you can store up your wisdom, you find that so many women, like everybody's had a dark spot. Like everybody's had a dark spot. Everybody's had that deep moment when you just cry your eyes out thinking, you're like, where and what and why and everything. I remember Chris saying to me when one of her darkest moments, she said, one moment she said, why me? And then God told her, why not me? You know, it's just so many times that we've talked amongst each other. But for me, for sure, I've had some of those moments when I lost my children. I've had those moments when I was leaving a domestic violence situation. But I want to tell you, my journey of purpose was a step by step, because when I clearly went to Harvard Business School, I clearly left Howard to climb a corporate ladder. I clearly wanted to end up in the C-suites, and I was not even thinking about entrepreneurship. When I tell you I wasn't thinking about entrepreneurship, I was not thinking about it. My parents weren't talking about it. I didn't have any role models in that arena. That was not it. But I think what happened for me, Caterina, honestly, as you asked the question, is that I saw more. I wanted more. I saw more. I wanted more. And then I started seeing my impact. And now I totally understand. I have a deep ability to impact women around the avenue of developing their confidence, starting from a place of showing them how to create their courage. And that led me to hearing God's voice tell me that my purpose was to take people from ordinary to extraordinary. And so it's been a journey, and I love that part about it, because we can tell other people it's a journey. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight. And it very seldom happens to me the way you anticipate that it would happen. You know, it just is an unfolding for me. It's an unfolding. Katrina, I hope that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. That's so good. And Chris, I know you talk about, we see you now as Lady Crisette Ellis, amazing in your own right, and walking alongside Bishop Ellis in the humongous ministry that you guys have been entrusted to. But I know you talk about how that wasn't what you thought it was going to be like in the beginning. And so can you just talk a little bit about how you got about your journey to living, because clearly you are living out God's purpose for your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dr. Jena, thank you so much for being on the show on today. I am so excited about leaning in and even learning more about your journey and how we can become better at living on purpose. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's God's purpose that will prevail. And so I'm sure most people would say they start off thinking that they are going to go down a certain journey, go down a certain road. They kind of have their life all mapped out, and then a monkey wrench gets thrown into it. And for me, marrying the pastor's son, in the back of my head, I knew that one day he would probably be the pastor's son. I mean, the pastor of the church, but I didn't think it was going to be like 5-6 years later after I had married him. So with his passing, all of a sudden thrown into this position. And for me, it was the fear of, not measuring up, the fear of the expectations, the fear of, I thought I was going to be, settled for a while. I thought it was going to be older. I thought it was going to be wiser. I mean, just a myriad of thoughts. But at the end of the day, while it surprised me that I became a first lady of this big mega church as quicker than I had imagined, it didn't surprise God. And so at the end of the day, I look at things like this, is that nothing is a surprise to God. So if God puts you in a position, it's because he's already equipped you. He's already put inside you everything you need in order to accomplish his purpose, which may not be your purpose, but his purpose. And then the last thing I'll say, and this is how I live my life, and I talk about this all the time. I made a promise to God that I would never not do something because of fear. I would never not do something because of fear. So whenever I feel pushed out of my comfort zone, whenever I feel the urge to say, no, I can't do it, I'm not the one, can somebody else do it? Somebody's better than me. I have to think, am I saying that because of my limiting thoughts? And if that is the case, then I have to go back and say, remember, you promised God that you would never not do something because of fear. And so if I ever feel that I'm saying no to something because of that, I automatically change it to a yes. So I have learned to feel the fear and do it anyway. And that has really served me well, because it has pushed me out of my comfort zone. And at the end of the day, you learn and say, wow, I didn't even know I could be good at that. Mm-hmm. So I just encourage people, don't get stuck in, I'm not doing something because I don't know if I'll be good at it. I always say, let me do it. And if I stink at it, then I know I shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. This is so good. This is so good, you guys. I am excited that we have Dr. Jena Bell. We're going to bring her in after the break to talk more about how to get to this point that you can honestly say, I am living my life on purpose. Only 25% of American adults cite that they have a clear sense of purpose for their lives. And so we're going to continue this conversation. It's an important conversation, and we can't wait to have you back from the break. You're listening to We Got Issues with the Force of Friendship, and we will be right back.
Wow, Facebook. This topic is crazy good. This is right up our alley for sure, Facebook. Let me tell you something. What is exciting right now is that where we all challenged with finding our purpose and we're all challenged with finding our way, we're also charged with helping other people do the same. So having this book and having this resource is going to be a very powerful to have a real conversation with a woman who has become an expert at helping people find their purpose. And because it's so interesting to me, because we have so many people coming at it so many ways, it's so surprising that you start out with one purpose at 20 years old. You might end up with another purpose at 30 years old. A tragedy might happen to you. You end up with another purpose at 35 years old. Then you have you know what I'm saying? It's just like this journey. Then you have to match it with a spouse, a boyfriend, a man, your kids, their purpose. How can you best position them to live out their purpose? How do you not worry about what their purpose is? How do you help them navigate the thought of their purpose? I mean, there's just so much in here. Yes, Katie, is it Casey talking about and completing the ability to lean in and trusting God, is a big, big deal. Not always easy. I'm going to disconnect my phone and I'm going to call back in because I'm hoping that it's not me that's causing some of the feedback that we're hearing on the station. But I'm excited that we have an opportunity here to really pay attention to how do we create that purpose. I like what Rena Renee. I know in my heart that ultimately my purpose is to positively impact people's lives. It's amazing how we can have that general statement and know it be true. And don't you sometimes feel the need for that general statement, but then you don't know how specifically it's supposed to happen. Like, how am I specifically supposed to make that happen? So I'm very interested to lean in and listen to this conversation and see what's going on. You guys, I want you guys to take advantage of asking her questions, because when you ask questions, it makes the conversation richer. And I want you to also take advantage of the fact that if you pass this on to someone else, we will grow our tribe. I'm so excited about the women who are becoming part of our girlfriends in the Force of Friendship, including you guys, so that we can make this such an experience and a rich experience for the Force of Friendship.
Well, we are back from the break. And we are so, so grateful that you are listening in, that you're leaning into this topic. We got issues. We've had some heavy topics all week, and this is one that we hope really makes you think. This is Caterina Harris Earl on We Got Issues. And today on the show, we have Dr. Jena Bell, who is a strategist and just an amazing woman who's an author of Mirror Affirmations. We're going to talk a little bit about your book later. And we're talking about how you define yourself as a purpose-driven woman. And I just want to say that as all of the girlfriends were talking about how they found their purpose, one of the things that I found that I had to fight against myself was this sense of being single until I was 45 and feeling like I wasn't complete. The world tries to put that on you. And I chose to define myself as complete and living life on purpose. And I feel that that made a big difference in my being ready when I did become one with my husband. And so I just appreciate this conversation today. Right before I bring you back in, Dr. Bell, Sharice Griffin Cook on Facebook, when I read the statistic earlier about only 25% are living, 25% define themselves as living their life on purpose. Sharice says she is one of the 75%. I look forward to learning how to establish my purpose. So can you talk directly to Sharice, who was confident enough and brave enough to admit that to our audience. And no doubt there are so many other men and women that are listening in.
Absolutely. And can you guys hear me?
Yes,
you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay, great. And so I want to say too, she's very brave to admit that, because a lot of people don't admit it, that they struggle with that. And I want to tell you, there's really about 5 reasons why people struggle with it. And one is fear. One is because your vision is blocked based upon past experiences, based upon pain, based upon hurt. Oftentimes it's because you've been living someone else's expectations of your life, and you haven't really thought about what it is that you want. And see, what this life is all about is not about living life according to somebody else's terms. It's about living life according to your expectations of what you define as success. So when we get caught up on living for other people, we can block the vision of what God has for us. There's also issues of self-confidence, and sometimes just not really trusting your own self, and then beginning to question your own value. But more specifically, in discovering purpose exists in everybody. Everybody's been called. We may have been called differently, but we've all been called. And when you can get centered, the soul cannot allow the purpose to emerge as long as there's a disruption in the soul. So it's about getting quiet and then realizing all those things that you do naturally, all those things that just come so naturally for you, or that you have purpose, or that you have a passion in your life. And one of the ways I explain it in my own situation is that, you know, when I went out and got certified as a life coach, I was preparing for retirement, which wasn't going to take place for another 5 years. I didn't know I would need it within the next 9 months. But I have always been the type of person who wanted to help, or who transformed situations. And so as I began to think about in the depths of my own loneliness and issues, I realized that what God was showing me is that was part of the gift that he had given me. And that was to help transform the lives of others. So I went from transforming books and records, right, and organizations, to then just transforming lives. So I have been always doing that. And that's what you soon realize. And if you guys just think about what you do today and making that big impact, you probably have been making impact all your life, right? In some small way. And as you've gotten closer to that and real centered in who you are, you realize that on that journey, Gloria, that you started making more and more and more of an impact. Right. And so it's not so much the role that you play, it's who you are when you show up in whatever the role, because that doesn't change. The purpose that God has for you doesn't change.
That's so good. So many times we wrap it around our purpose, around our career. But I love how you're talking about it's your life. Can you expound on that more? Because it's not always your job title or your exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, because titles come and go. And so when we get so hung up on the titles, we lose sight of what's really going on. And I would say this, that purpose is not about the title. It's not about the job. It's not about the role. Some people will say, I was purposed to be a mom. Well, I would argue that God was thinking much bigger than that, than just being a mom. But it's who you are as that mom. And when you show up, whether you're a mother, whether you're an aunt, or whether you're in a role in a job, the way you nurture and give is generally going to be the same way. You don't really change. And that's what purpose is. It's about the reason that God has put you here. And it's about discovering what that reason is as you move along the journey of life. And sometimes it takes us to get to rock bottom before we discover it. And that rock bottom sometimes is when we are the closest that we can get to God and to that relationship. and still enough to begin to hear what he's saying.
That sense of vulnerability, that sense of
Yes.
of surrendering, that sense of
Yes.
releasing
Yes.
control when you
Yes.
have to release it because you no longer have it can sometimes be the point that you can hear most clearly. And
Yes.
it's just such a sweet opportunity. What exercises you talked about being still? So where would I start if I am just feeling like I'm in that 75%? What exercises, what can I do? Is this something I do by myself? Is this the benefit of having a life coach to support you? We're blessed to be able to do that in our entrepreneurial businesses. But what exercises would you say that?
Well, I'll tell you some of
do?
the exercises that I take my clients through. It's about really getting so I have to tell you this is a beautiful. So it really is about getting still and reconnecting with nature, because that's when you're going to get closest to who you really are. And that's there's spiritual ramifications of that are just out of this world. But anyway, it's about getting really clear on who you are as a person. It's about getting clear on what it is that you want. There's some 3 questions that I have my clients to ask. One is, what is it that you want? Why do you want it? And what do you believe about it? And it's about discovering who you are. So once you go through those 3 questions, it's then about what is it that you enjoy doing? What comes to you that is just so natural that you don't even think about it because you realize you've been doing it all along. And then you discover really about the why. Why are you doing it? And what is that impact that you really want to make in life? And all of it begins to emerge. So those are just some really quick exercises, but it's about meditating. And believe it or not, that when you begin to meditate, and there's one question that you ask during the meditation, and that is, what is it that you have for me? What is it that you have for me? And you'd be surprised of how things just start to emerge and you start connecting to those things all along that you probably have already been doing and just hadn't settled on it.
It's so interesting because oftentimes that can come across as new age, and yet it is very scripturally based. You are having what you say, and as a man thinketh, so is he. As a woman thinketh, so is she. And so I talk a lot about this be, do, have, that so many people, we define ourselves as soon as I have this, as soon as I have this, as soon as I have the man, have the car, have the house, have this, then I'm going to do this, and then I will become this. But the part of this purpose is being, be, do, have. You be first, and then that causes you to do. And then it's like sometimes it feels like someone who's living, quote unquote, the good life. They're living in their purpose, or we call it in the zone. It feels like so much good stuff is coming to them, and you get to that point that you literally become a magnet. You're attracting more of what you want in your life, and so. Crisette, I'm going to pass
Caterina,
it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because the way you described it is so important, because it really becomes your North Star. It becomes that North Star. And once you do that, and once you're connected with it, your path just starts opening up like you wouldn't believe.
I have a question, Dr. Jena. Of course, I can't wait to read your book on affirmations. I'm totally big on affirmations. I totally am a proponent of Proverbs 18:21. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. And so can you talk to us a little bit about the power of affirmations? I totally believe in, speaking in the first person when you're talking about, who you are. And then can you also touch on why is it so hard for women, especially, to affirm themselves? It's easy to affirm other people, but why is it more challenging for us to affirm ourselves?
Oh, that is great. So let me just say the power of the words, because whatever you speak, the mind hears and the mind starts looking for evidence. So if you are constantly filling your mind with negative self-talk, the mind is going to start looking for all the evidence that says, yes, that's right. That's right. So if it works for negative talk, think about what it does for positive talk. So it's the power of the words, and it's the stories that you're telling yourself. So you have to begin to tell yourself very positive stories about who you really are. And so just imagine that every day you're telling yourself, I'm worthy, I'm wealthy, I am abundant. All those things, and one of my favorite ones that I use every day is that every day my goal is to serve. So I'm a server, and I help other women. So I become that service. So it's about how I can serve every day. And you'll be surprised that the more and more that you repeat it, the more opportunities begin to open for you to have that level of service. And so when you say, why is it so hard for women especially? So one of the biggest reasons that women are held back is because of their self-confidence. And the issue with self-confidence is because we don't see ourselves the way other people see us. And we forget that God has already affirmed us. So we don't need society. We don't need anything else to affirm us, because God's already affirmed us. So society has made us believe that all the stereotypes that are out there, that if we don't fit them, then we're not worthy. So we're constantly in the mode of comparing ourselves to everybody else. And one of the things I like to tell everybody, you might see somebody's glory, but you don't know the story. And until you know the story, you'll realize, well, maybe I don't necessarily want to follow her path, but maybe I can learn from the path that she, the lessons that she learned on the path. So you got to live your life for you. And you can't spend your life trying to look for external validation. It's about realizing that God has already validated you. Mm-hmm. And when you can do that, life changes immensely. But that's what you begin to tell yourself.
Mm-hmm. This is so good. I think the two things I repeat most often is very simple affirmation: my life works and people and things around me work. I'm the techie girl. I like for the technology of my life to work, my home environment to work, my marriage to work, my phone to work. My life works. People and things around me work. And I love repeating to myself that my joy is non-negotiable. When I feel myself being pulled here or being pulled there, happiness can fluctuate, but my joy, Caterina, my joy is non-negotiable. I will not let this steal my joy. And I repeat that so many times. So, Gloria, what can you add about, I want to talk in just a moment about how we help others to find their purpose. But for those, I'm just continually seeing others in the chat that are saying, support me with it's hard to find your purpose. And what else can we say? What other tools? I really want folks to leave the show today. We are heading into a Memorial Day weekend. For some, it'll be a 3-day long weekend. Some will be on a beach, or they'll actually have some time to sit and maybe think. Sometimes it means a courageous decision of a career change. What happens when you're in a career that is just not fit and you've stayed there for the wrong reasons? I know we all need to eat, so we need to work, but what can you add, Gloria, about how to support women that are just feeling like, I'm itching, I know I'm not living on purpose? How do I get from point A to point B?
Well, I have loved Dr. Jena's conversation because she talks about self-confidence a lot. And I think one of the first things is the acknowledgement. I think we spend so much time feeling unhappy or searching, but you haven't really acknowledged to yourself that you're not living your purpose. You're fighting to find the joy in something that's not joyful for you. You're fighting to find the passion because that's what you've done the last 5 years, and no one around you is supporting you with the change. And every time you want to make a change, they turn off your light. They dim your light by just saying one thing that causes you to doubt yourself. And so I think that the first thing that a lot of people have to do is they have to acknowledge the fact that they might be unhappy because they're not living in their calling. They're not living in their strength. They're not living in their gifts. And they have to acknowledge the fact that they've been given gifts. They've been giving their own gifts to live out loud. And they sometimes refuse to see them because others around them don't understand their gifts, because they don't have the same gifts. I mean, we could talk about this for a minute because we are around so many amazing women, and we've all been there where, 2 years ago you weren't feeling amazing, and then, next month you feel like you're on top of the world because you stepped into something that at one time held you back for these reasons. I wrote down these reasons because they're so real, these reasons that you talked about. The vision is clouded and blocked because of something that happened to you 25 years ago. Or for me, someone who's been through a divorce, that conversation that you hear, you heard the conversation when you went to bed, you heard the conversation when you got up, you heard the conversation on every phone that you're not nothing, you're not going to be nothing, you're not going to do nothing, and you keep playing that road over and over and over again until one day you decide to wake up and hear something totally different. So I think that women have to, this is the year of the women, y'all. We need to just wake up and understand that this is the time. We've never had it like this before. Never, ever, ever, ever have we had it like this. And so in order for us to quantum leap in this environment, we have to learn to lean on each other, push each other, support each other, lift up each other, and really encourage each other. Really watch your words. Watch your words that you say to yourself, and watch your words that you're saying to other people, because the words you say to other people can really hurt them. And that we're not really thinking about. One of my daily affirmations, my kids are like, Mom, if you wear me out with that one more time. But treat other people the way you want to be treated. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. If it's not funny to you, if it's not funny to them, it's not funny to anybody. And so if you stay really purposeful on what you give out, you are serving the world. You are serving the world. So I loved when Dr. Jena said, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. And Dr. Jena, do they find their purpose in the serving? Because it seems like if you serve in where your gifts are, it's going to be enlightened to you that that's what you were supposed to do.
And you know what, Gloria, I want to add to that when so many questions are coming up about purpose. And I think so many times we fail to recognize our purpose because we're so busy comparing ourselves to other people. And we're so busy looking to the left and looking to the right that we fail to look at the person in the mirror. I love the parable of the talents where, one was given 1, somebody else was given 2, and the other one was given 5. But the sad part about that story is the one that was just given the 1 talent. He didn't think that it was important. He figured, hey, I didn't get 2, I didn't get 5, I just got 1. So he discounted the 1 talent that he had. And we know, as you read the story, the one that had 5 ended up getting 10, the one that had 2 ended up getting 4, which means that had he worked with the one thing that he had, he could have turned that into 2. And then the 2 could have become 4, because exponentially, when you start working with your gift, sometimes you don't grow. Sometimes we think we go from A, B, C, but there are times in your life when you really start understanding who you are, you jump from A to M, and then from M to Z. So it's not always a step by step. So I just think that for those that are listening and watching, really, really take the time. And a lot of times you can, pray and ask God to reveal to you, talk to other people. And as you said, Dr. Jena, what is it that you do so well? And if you can't see it, ask other people. They know what you do well. And because you do it so well, you don't even understand that that's your gift.
You don't even see it.
So Absolutely.
Yes. And you know what? Then that's one of the values of life coaching, because I'm able to see what others can't see in themselves, because they've been so blinded by hurt, by pain, by other people, their complaints, and they've never even realized that what they do is so unique, right? And then when you
Right.
can take that and wrap that into how you're going to serve others.
Then we lost you.
Oh, you can't hear, can you hear me?
I
hear.
got you. I can hear
Can
her.
you hear me? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear
Yes.
you.
Okay. And so sometimes it does take that person who can then look at you as a non-emotional observer and see all the things. Because you know, when you're inside the frame of life, your vision is very narrow. But it's only when you're able to step out, and sometimes you can't step out because you're too close to the situation. But when you can have someone like a life coach that can then look and see the things that you can't see, it becomes so obvious. And you know, and it's just the benefit of having to work with someone so that you get that wider view of your life and the things that have happened. And it just becomes, and I also want to tell the everybody that's listening, it's not going to come in a moment. It's not going to come in a day. It's an evolution of that discovery process. It's a whole process. And then you realize that whatever role you've been playing, like I'll give you an example. One of my clients, she's a dressmaker. And so she just saw herself as just making clothes. But when we really got to the heart of it, she was really trying to change that woman's perception of who she was so that she become more beautiful. So it wasn't just about the clothes. And when she realized that that's what she was really trying to do, but hadn't been able to articulate it, her attention to detail and her desire to make better clothes or more clothes and make them with such fine details, it became such a passion that she ended up growing her business, you know, twofold, because her purpose for doing it was so much broader than just simply cutting a pattern, right?
Right.
Wow.
It was way
That's
beyond
powerful.
that.
Yeah.
So
That's so good. I think when, you know, everyone is not called to be an entrepreneur. We understand that. And we talked about purpose, not just being defined as your job, but when you are just in sync with your purpose and your calling, I just think the resources always come where you can monetize that. People will pay you when you are working on what your 20%, where your strengths are, rather than working on, you know, just working something as a job. And so if that's your calling, how do you support a woman from leaping if she just knows that she's in that job just for it to be a job, and she really knows this is where my purpose is, but how do I leap from here to there? How do you support a woman in the courage to have her career line up with her purpose or her entrepreneurial opportunity?
Absolutely. Because see, that's the beauty. And that's when the path of abundance really opens up, because once you can identify it and then you can connect to it, and then it's about strategizing and aligning so that everything else in your life lines up. So even that job begins to line up. And if you're in a place where you know that you're called to do something more than what that job is, and you're not ready to leave, but you see something calling you, just know that the job is just an investor in the future, in the dreams that you have, and in the manifestation of that purpose. And then it's about being able to strategize so that you then set a plan and a path for when you want to move from that corporate job to really walking in that purpose. And maybe that walking in that purpose, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to leave your job, you know, because you can still be purposeful in that job. It's the reason, it's the person that you show up as in that job. So if you're in HR, you're not just there to make sure payroll gets done. You're not there just make sure people are recruited. It's about how do I, when you're purpose driven, but how do I now take the human resource function so that it now helps to elevate the people in the organization. So you're thinking about equity, you're thinking about inclusion, you're thinking about fairness. You see what I'm saying? It changes the reason for why you do what you do when you do it. That's what purpose is. It's about who you are when you show up. It's about that inner being and what you bring to it. And yes, it can be monetized, and maybe you go off and you have your own business. But like you said, Caterina, everybody's not called for entrepreneurship.
Right.
So it could be in service, it could be in volunteering. There's so many ways. It just depends on how you're going to use it to serve the purpose. And the purpose is not about you anyway. It's about the people that you've been called to serve.
I love that. I love that. And it's a win-win. If you are working in the corporate world, the corporation's going to win, your family's going to win. Everyone wins when you are living your life on purpose. You guys, our guest today, you can follow her on all social media at Jena, Jena L Bell, for those on the radio, and those that are watching on Facebook, you see it right on the screen. Her website, Dr. Jena L Bell, Jena L Bell. Some said I need a life coach. Well, now you got someone to go to, and make sure you go to Amazon. Everyone can benefit from this powerful book, Mirror Affirmations. So go. I am going to order a few other copies to share with friends and family. Mirror Affirmations by Dr. Jena L Bell. We typed it in the chat. Even if you're on the radio, you can visit The Force of Friendship on Facebook and see it there in the chat. In the time we have left, I have two things that I wanted to cover. And one is, this is not happening in a vacuum. This is happening in this crazy world of pandemic, protest, politics, all the craziness that is happening. So, I mean, I got so many questions about that. We don't have a lot of time, but how different is this for Black folks to be able to walk this journey? And just what would you add about how important this is based on what's happening specifically in our community right now today?
You know, one of the things that I believe is a awakening for us right now is that there are so many issues that are going on. And I believe that the purpose-driven is being called to action because there's somebody out there who's been called to make a difference, to help solve these problems. And so, you know, when you think about the injustices that are going on, you think about the housing issues that are going on, all the foreclosures, all of those can be solved by somebody that's out there. So when you know your purpose, you can do that. And one of the things I just wanted to comment about the book, it's hard sometimes to see the purpose when you're suffering from the pain of the past. Like Gloria said, being divorced, all those things block your vision. So what the book does is to help you shed that so you can get beyond it. And then the path and the vision begins to open up so that you can then see clearly what it is you need to do in your life.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to pass it to the girlfriends. What else would you say to our Facebook audience about taking this journey from purpose? And even if you feel like you are totally walking in your purpose, how can we then support? We want everyone around us. We want our spouse, of course. We want our children. There's always others that we can help along this journey. So, Chris, what else would you add in closing about this topic? We could talk about on and on and on.
Right. Well, one of the things that I think has been very instrumental in my life is, you know, connecting myself with women who are purposeful, connecting myself with women who I admire, connecting myself with women who are courageous, connecting myself with women that will tell me the truth, connecting myself with women that believe in me sometimes more than I believe in myself. And so, you know, for many of you, you have to be courageous and you have to find those individuals. You know, we can find people that inspire. You can be inspired and never talk to that person on the phone. Many times I've been inspired because I read somebody's book and something in me leaped, and I was so glad that they took the time to put it in the pages, because for that particular moment in my life, I needed to read what they wrote because it spoke to my situation. And that person may never, ever know that it was something that I read in a book that changed me, that removed the scales from my eyes. So I think those are some of the things. If you're still, struggling to find, what should I do? Get with other purposeful people, because I'm telling you, inspiration is real, and it literally can push you from a place of being in your comfort zone to another place of, I'm going to absolutely fulfill the purpose for which God has called me to.
Excellent.
Gloria, how about
you
for
want me to
you?
add to that? Yeah,
Yes,
you know what? I when Chris was talking and I'm listening to this, I'm thinking of two things as the chat's going on, and they're saying I need a life coach, and people know they haven't moved. So there's two things I want to tell you guys. One thing I want to say to everybody is that there's value in the investment, investing in yourself, investing in a life coach, investing in putting your body in a place where it's going to be shifted, investing in those relationships that Chris just read off to find those people. You have to invest in your courage so that you will ask the questions, so that people will be aware of your needs. Sometimes people don't reach over to help you. It's because you haven't asked for what you need. You haven't given people the opportunity to serve you when they really want to serve you. But because of your mindset all wrapped up in there, you don't even open up your mouth and allow people into your heart to do something for you. So there's value in the investment. And the other thing I want to challenge everyone to do, that if you want to live on purpose, you have to learn how to imagine. You have to see it before you can create it. And so you have to learn and admit to yourself that your imagination muscle has been shrunk because of discouragement, because of the vision blocks, because of the fear, because of failure, your definition of failure, because you haven't leaned in on God long enough. You haven't invested in the relationship that you need to have with him so that you can hear him. I personally would love to learn how to meditate more and quiet more so that I could hear more. So I know that in doing so, it would cause my imagination muscle to be stimulated so that you can create the vision, because you have to see it here before you even start to talk it.
This is so good. This is so good. This is such a hot topic. We only have like 30 seconds left. And Dr. Jena, I want to give you the last word on how women can work with you, how they can work with you. What should they do next if they are saying, help me?
Let me just say this. I don't want anybody feeling like they're stuck. I don't want anybody out there feeling like they cannot find their purpose, because let me tell you, one of the things, whether you choose to work with me one-on-one or whether you choose one of my group programs or one of my retreats, you will not leave that session. We will not leave those programs without knowing what your purpose is. So you can go out to my website at www.drjenalbell.com. On there, you can schedule a
we thank you so much. We have got to go.
Can you guys hear me?
We got it. We are off the radio. Get excited. So
it cut me off.
Sometimes I get it. We were right at that. Oh,
that was the quote.
Okay. Yeah, we were right there. The Facebook audience is still there, and they got the website. They got the website.
Well, just go out there. Everything is on the website. You can sign up. You can get a complimentary consult, and just give me a call, and let's get you on that path to purpose and to your full abundance.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jena. We appreciate you. And this was just powerful.
It was so powerful. It was good to see you again. That was amazing.
It was good to see you guys again, too. So I will talk to you soon.
Yes, Facebook audience, we will see you tomorrow before the big weekend. So we got another hot topic tomorrow. Don't miss it. All right, Sabrina, we're going to be watching. Pay attention to everything that's happening on TV about the celebration, the commemoration,
right?
In Tulsa. So we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.